Hi there and welcome to the first playthrough of Gladiator Manager, upcoming game that's going to be released at the end of this year 2020. What we have here is the opening screen with some sample gladiators, and we're going to start a new campaign and go through the first fight. We're going to use a random themed world with completely random gladiators, names, and we're going to use Roll20 randomness. So that's a kind of medium random number generator setting. Let's give ourselves a team name and start the campaign. Okay, so the first thing that you would always do when starting a game is to check out the barracks and see what kind of gladiators you've got. So let's have a look and see who we've got. Some fairly terrible people usually to begin the game with, although this guy is pretty decent. We've got a barbarian here with some decent strength, pretty good weapon skill, because barbarians are usually fairly poor in weapon skill, so that's actually not too bad. So this guy is going to help us a great deal. Pretty decent gladiator there, terrible. And not terrible on the weapon skill, but strength and toughness 1. That means they're essentially going to be able to do no damage and get broken as soon as they get touched by someone else. So here we've got another 12, 18 gladiators who you can hire, but you don't know anything about, or you don't know much about them to start with. So this guy looks pretty rubbish. Let's go through and see if we've got someone else. Yeah, it could be alright. So veterans tend to be a little bit more expensive, cost a little bit more, but they are usually a bit better, and this one certainly could be. So we're going to look at Helga again later on. Again, another veteran here who's not so bad. In fact, actually got highly good quality leadership, but that's less important at this early stage of the game. Another decent veteran there. Alright, so here we've got a criminal. Now criminals are free, but you can only keep them for a limited amount of fights, in this case 13 fights. But this is a very skilled looking rogue, so we're going to hire her straight away because there's no reason not to, except that they take up space in your in your barracks. Okay, so yeah, pretty fast and agile, decent initiative. A concerning weakness in bravery there, which could lead this fighter to yield very quickly in a fight. So not perfect, but pretty decent for the start of the game. So citizens are cheap, only £48 to hire this one, but sometimes you get good potential out of them. They don't tend to be great at the beginning, but this one seems to have half decent weapon skill, and for £48 you can't say no. Indeed, that's turned out quite decent. 2.5 stars potential. A good squad player. Okay, so we're going to try taking one of the veterans as well. Possibly this guy, AD. This Gioacchino is very expensive and will wipe out almost all of our salary budget, so we've got to watch out for that. And then there was Helga as well. Okay, Helga looks like a good bet, a good combination of different things, so we'll go for Helga. Again, a pretty decent average. So we've got a few different fighters to work with now, and what we're going to try and do is win our first fight if we can. So here's the team selection screen, and at this stage what you want to think about is who your opponent is likely to pick. And generally in the first battle of the season it's always one-on-one, one fighter from our team, one fighter from their team. So it's usually reasonably possible to guess who they might pick, and the best fighter in this team in Ferriby is Ted Palmer, who is a Rotarius, and we know that Rotarius are vulnerable to rogues. So if we've got a decent rogue, that's probably going to be our option, and we've got a few here. So Bettina, very decent rogue. That's the criminal that we hired. Or we've got Helga the veteran, who's also pretty good. I think I'm going to go with Bettina and hope that that bravery doesn't cause her to quit too quickly. Alright, so here's the melee screen. This is where the action happens. And because this is one-on-one, there's limited fighting space, and so we just get cracking straight away. The most important thing on this screen is this number in the middle of the fighter cards. That's how much in control of the fight they are. So at the moment, Ted has got a little bit of an advantage over Bettina, and that's probably because his initiative is 38 and ours is 34. So that little extra initiative is tipping the balance for now. So because we're not really in control of the fight to start with, what we're going to do is we're going to start by trying to defend, and Bettina is particularly agile, so she's going to be good at dodging. So we're going to start by selecting dodge, and we're just going to see if we can get back in control. So Ted tried to parry, and they both stand off, and they both defend, so not much happens, but the tension in the fight goes up every time everybody defends, and as tension goes up, discipline goes down, and people are more likely to make an aggressive move and disobey what you're telling them to do. So for now we're just going to keep trying to dodge, see what happens. Ted there has chucked a net at us, because he's a Rotarius. He's equipped with a net, and if that had landed, that would have put him well in control and allowed him to start doing some serious damage. As it happens, we dodged out the way beautifully with a dodge bonus of 63, not too bad, and so Ted has now lost control and we're now in control of the fight. So at this stage we want to start attacking. The rogue class is equipped with a couple of daggers, so we're just going to go for a quick and easy slash, which is a more accurate thing than a stab with daggers. So we're just going to try and start doing some damage. Let's see what happens. Alright. So Ted went for an attack with his trident and missed. And in the meantime, Bettina decided to disobey me. So she actually failed a discipline check because her discipline's only 7 out of 100, so that's not too surprising. She's going to disobey me quite often. And because her bravery is so low, when she does disobey, there's a decent chance she's going to defend instead of attacking. And that's exactly what she did. She decided to just sit back and rest and not go in for the attack. So we're just going to keep telling her to do this, see if there's any chance that we can get her to attack, and at the moment she's just being a complete chicken and won't go in for the fight. Okay. Right, so both the fighters attacked there. Bettina actually did what we told her to, and she landed a hit on Ted's right leg. A pretty pathetic blow, doing only 3 damage to the armour. When it's in blue, it's damage to the armour. And meanwhile, Ted went for a pinning attack, which is an attack that tridents are particularly good with, where they go down low and aim for the feet and legs. And he hit Bettina in the right foot for 24 damage. So if we look at the armour front of the card, we can see Bettina's right foot is already beginning to suffer, whereas Ted is still in pretty decent shape. So never mind, we're going to keep trying to attack, but what we're going to do now is we're going to try and go for a stabbing attack and do a bit more damage. Bettina's strength is very low at 7, so it's quite hard to get a great deal done. Alright, so Bettina keeps on disobeying us, and she's just too chicken. She's got really bad discipline and really bad bravery, so she's not attacking. Meanwhile, Ted has gone in and hit in the torso and done a bit of torso damage. And one of the special moves of the Rotarius is, because they've got this great big trident, they can keep prodding you away, and so every time they hit with the trident, they take a little bit of control back. So we want, if we can, not to suffer that too often. At this stage, Ted seems to have a bit of an edge, and indeed his stats are better, so this could be a difficult fight. Alright, done a little bit of damage to his torso. He failed to dodge there. Okay. That time we managed to parry Bettina. She disobeyed again, but she decided to go for a parry this time, and actually that worked quite well. So we're really in control now, and because we're so in control, hopefully we might stand a chance of landing an attack if Bettina can go for it. So it's starting to do a tiny bit of damage to the torso, not a great deal. He's dodged us, so he's regained some control. Attacking that torso. Starting to do a little bit of damage here and there. Just wearing him down. Alright, decent hit to the torso there, 22 damage. In fact, we can see in the detailed report over here that the reason that happened is because she rolled a critical success. Like in Dungeons and Dragons, a 1 is a critical fail, a 20 is a critical success, and so she managed to do smash in a lot more damage to the torso. So that's torso starting to weaken now, and now that it's down to 66, every time she hits the torso, she's got a much better chance of getting through a damaged part and doing some real damage. So because we've been in control for a while, what I'm going to do now is target the torso specifically. So we get a disadvantage to attack now, but if we get the attack in, we're going to hit the torso, and that's what just happened. Meanwhile, Ted is doing some damage to the right leg. We're hitting that torso, wearing it down, hitting it really great. 3 in a row there, very decent. Okay, so that wasn't so good. Overconfident, Ted managed to parry the blow. We've not only that, but he did it with such skill that he knocked the weapon out of our hands. So we've dropped our daggers. We're going to have to try and pick them up before we can do anything else now. Alright, Ted managed to get in a decent hit on the left arm, but we've got the weapons back from the floor. However, we've lost all this control now, so we're going to have to start dodging again to try to get back in control of the fight. Alright, and now Bettina, still with the bad discipline, has decided to attack when I'm trying to defend. So unfortunately, sometimes your fighters, especially when they've got low discipline, just don't do what you tell them to. Ouch. Ted got in a great hit there, critical success, smashed in the left foot, and because it's down a blow down low, that increases the chance of a fall, and Bettina has indeed fallen to the ground, damaged her armour a bit more in the process. So now we've got no control, vulnerable to attack. We've got to try and stand up to avoid any further damage. Oof! He smashed Bettina's torso with a bit of extra bonus for her being on the floor, but she's managed to get back up. However, the torso armor is completely destroyed, so any more attacks to the torso will cause a flesh wound. Okay, we're just going to go back to dodging and try and get out of this mess. Oh, he's targeting the torso because he knows that the armor's gone, and he's straight away done a flesh wound there. Pretty minor one, slight nick to the belly, nothing too serious. Helpfully we've got class advantage here, rogue against Rotarius, so that's reducing the damage a little bit. Right, but because she's such a chicken, her morale is already beginning to drop now that he's getting through the armour. So here we go, we're still just going to try and defend, see if we can get out of this. He's just targeting the torso again, completely unsurprising. And in fact, Bettina, she's so pathetic, she's quit. 2 tiny little wounds, this time a trivial nick to the stomach, and she's gone. Well, that's what you get when you fight with someone with bravery 1. No proper injury at all, and she's off. So we've lost that fight, and that's going to punish us. In popularity, minus 15 to popularity, because the crowd does not like to watch somebody quitting when all they've got is a tiny scratch to the stomach. Ted escapes unhurt, everybody's unhurt. Nobody came off of that particularly spectacularly. That was a pretty unpopular fight for the fans. Here on the screen you get a whole bunch of stats. In longer fights with more gladiators, some of this can be quite interesting. Defense percentages and hit percentages can all show you what's going on with your strategy. Reputation is very important. Whenever you beat a team, you will improve your reputation by comparison with theirs. If you fight someone who's much better, you'll get a bigger boost there. And when you get higher reputation, you will get better gladiators coming along to be hired. And of course the winner takes the bulk of the crowd takings, and we get a pathetic little amount that won't be doing much for our costs. Okay, so every single week the game simulates 25 games, 5 in each division out of 5 divisions, and here we can see the results of those. In the top division, people are getting some pretty bad injuries. We got lacerations and stabbings, thighs, arms. Sometimes the fighters die, but it looks as though this week nobody has. Generally speaking, not that serious injuries. Okay, so that's the end of week 1. At the end of each week you get some training changes which come up here and let you know where things are going well. Bettina, because she was fighting, actually gets a little bit of a bonus to training and has managed to improve stamina as a result of the fight and as a result of training. And we can see that in the Barracks view as well by switching on training. So +2 to stamina there, she's gone from 1 to 3. The fight didn't last very long in the last game, but if it had done, she'd have started running out of stamina and would have been quitting on that basis as well, or just not being able to land any blows because she's too rubbish. So she's not actually injured. She had a couple of very minor things, but they're nothing she can't go on and fight someone else on now. But she served one of her 13 fights, and when those are gone, she'll be gone. So that's the end of week 1. And I hope you'll come back and watch week 2 and the further versions as we go through this season and try to win the league. Bad start. 1 game, 1 loss. Alright, thank you very much.